The United States and Canada, neighbors, allies. Now, economic adversaries locked in a trade war that threatens to redraw the map of the global auto industry. What began as a series of tit-for-tat tariffs has escalated into a full-blown economic offensive by Canada, targeting the heart of American innovation, the electric vehicle sector. At the epicenter of this trade turmoil stands Tesla, the standard-bearer of America's EV ambitions. The company, once a symbol of American ingenuity and technological prowess, now finds itself caught in the crosshairs of a trade war it did not start. Canada's weapon of choice, its vast reserves of raw materials, nickel, lithium, aluminum, the lifeblood of the EV battery industry. By imposing tariffs and export restrictions on these critical minerals, Canada has delivered a calculated blow to Tesla's supply chain, sending shockwaves through the company and the American EV market. This is not just about cars. It's about the future of mobility, about global economic leadership, and about the shifting balance of power in a world increasingly defined by technological innovation and strategic competition. Tesla's success story was inextricably linked to the seamless integration of the North American auto industry. Raw materials flowed freely across borders, feeding a sophisticated manufacturing ecosystem that spanned the continent. That era is over. Canada's tariffs and export restrictions have exposed Tesla's vulnerability, laying bare its reliance on a globalized supply chain, now held hostage to geopolitical tensions. The cost of battery production, already a significant hurdle for EV manufacturers, has skyrocketed, forcing Tesla to make difficult choices. Raise prices and risk losing its competitive edge in a rapidly growing market, or absorb the costs and watch its profit margins shrink, unsettling investors already jittery about the company's long-term prospects? The situation is a stark reminder of the fragility of global supply chains in an era of rising nationalism and economic protectionism. It's a lesson Tesla is learning the hard way. The trade war couldn't have come at a worse time for the American EV market. Just as electric vehicles were gaining traction with consumers, poised to revolutionize the auto industry and usher in a new era of sustainable transportation, the ground has shifted. Canada's actions threaten to derail the U.S. EV strategy, driving up costs for consumers and making electric vehicles less affordable at a time when affordability is paramount. The dream of a greener, cleaner transportation future heavily reliant on the mass adoption of EVs now faces a significant roadblock. The trade war has also exposed the limitations of a piecemeal approach to EV policy. While other countries have implemented comprehensive strategies, investing heavily in charging infrastructure, battery technology, and consumer incentives, the U.S. has lagged behind, its efforts hampered by political gridlock and a lack of a cohesive national vision. The result? A fragmented and reactive approach that leaves the U.S. ill-prepared to compete in the global race for EV dominance. The trade war has not only pitted the U.S. and Canada against each other, it has also shattered the once unbreakable bond of the North American auto industry. For decades, the industry thrived on the free flow of goods and services across borders, a testament to the power of regional integration. That era is over. Canada's decision to target the U.S. auto industry has triggered a chain reaction of disruptions and uncertainty. Ford, heavily reliant on Canadian parts, has warned of production slowdowns and potential layoffs. General Motors has been forced to pause operations at some of its plants, citing supply chain disruptions. The ripple effects are being felt across the industry as suppliers grapple with rising costs, uncertain demand, and the looming threat of further escalation. The intricate web of interconnected production networks that once defined the North American auto industry is unraveling, threatening to leave a trail of economic devastation in its wake. The dragon's shadow, China, seizes the opportunity. As the US and Canada lock horns, a third actor watches with keen interest: China. The world's second-largest economy, China has made no secret of its ambitions to dominate the global electric vehicle market, and it sees an opportunity in the chaos of the US-Canada trade war. With the US distracted by its own internal battles and Canada seeking to reduce its economic dependence on its southern neighbor, China has been busy forging new partnerships and securing its access to critical raw materials. Chinese companies have been investing heavily in Canadian mining companies, locking in long-term supply agreements for the lithium, cobalt, and other minerals essential for EV battery production. This strategy is not just about securing resources, it's about geopolitics. By becoming the indispensable partner for countries like Canada, China is steadily increasing its influence over the global green economy, positioning itself to call the shots in the industries of the future. The U.S., meanwhile, risks being left behind. The American heartland, grappling with economic anxiety. The trade war is not just an abstract economic debate playing out in the halls of Congress and on the pages of financial newspapers. It's having a real impact on the lives of ordinary Americans, particularly in the industrial heartland that was once the engine of the U.S. economy. In states like Michigan, Ohio, and Wisconsin, communities built around auto manufacturing are reeling from the impact of plant closures, layoffs, and economic uncertainty. The promise of a green jobs boom, fueled by the transition to electric vehicles, now rings hollow for workers facing unemployment and an uncertain future. The trade war has exacerbated the economic anxieties that have been simmering in these communities for years, fueling a sense of betrayal and resentment towards a political system perceived as out of touch with the struggles of working Americans. It's a dangerous cocktail of anger and frustration that politicians ignore at their peril. A house divided, the political fallout. The trade war has thrown gasoline on the already raging fire of American politics. It has become a wedge issue, dividing Democrats and Republicans, exacerbating partisan tensions, and further polarizing the electorate. For the Biden administration, the trade war presents a thorny dilemma. On the one hand, the administration is committed to revitalizing American manufacturing and promoting domestic production of electric vehicles. On the other hand, it recognizes the importance of maintaining strong economic ties with Canada and avoiding a full-blown trade war that could damage both economies. The issue is even more fraught for Republicans, many of whom represent districts and states heavily reliant on the auto industry. The trade war has put them in the awkward position of defending a president who campaigned on a platform of economic nationalism and protectionism, but whose policies are now causing economic pain for their constituents. The trade war is likely to be a major issue in the 2024 presidential election, with both parties seeking to exploit the issue to their advantage. The outcome of the election could have profound implications for the future of U.S. trade policy and the country's place in the global economy. From workshop to warehouse, the erosion of American manufacturing. The trade war has exposed a deeper malaise afflicting the American economy, the decline of its manufacturing base. For decades, the U.S. has been steadily outsourcing its manufacturing to countries with lower labor costs, lured by the promise of cheaper goods and higher corporate profits. The result? A hollowing out of American industry, a shrinking middle class, and a growing dependence on foreign manufacturers for essential goods. The trade war has brought this issue to the fore, highlighting the dangers of relying too heavily on global supply chains that can be disrupted by geopolitical tensions and economic nationalism. Rebuilding America's manufacturing base will require a sustained national effort, involving investments in education and training, research and development, and infrastructure. It will also require a rethinking of U.S. trade policy, moving away from the free trade orthodoxy that has dominated policymaking for decades and embracing a more strategic approach that prioritizes domestic production and economic resilience. A new world order, the shifting tides of global trade. The U.S.-Canada trade war is a symptom of a larger transformation underway in the global economy. The era of U.S. hegemony, characterized by American economic and military dominance, is giving way to a more multipolar world, with new centers of power emerging in Asia, Europe, and elsewhere. In this new world order, economic strength will be determined not just by military might, but by technological innovation, industrial capacity, and the ability to secure access to critical resources. The U.S., long accustomed to setting the rules of the global economic game, now finds itself having to adapt to a new reality in which other countries are writing the rules. The trade war with Canada is a wake-up call for the U.S., a reminder that it can no longer take its economic dominance for granted. It's a call to action, a challenge to rediscover its economic dynamism, rebuild its industrial base, and forge a new path to global leadership in the 21st century.